Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Seriously with Barry Weiss.
Wait, is that what it's called?
What is it called?
No, I think it is called something like that.
Seriously?
Wait, what is it called?
Honestly.
Wait, I like seriously better.
Seriously?
I'm gonna start seriously with Carrie Bice.
Well, I'm welcome to Seriously. Welcome to Seriously with Barry Weiss. We are talking to Douglas Murray. Have you seen this guy, Douglas Murray?
Like Douglas Murray? Douglas Murray?
Yeah, Douglas Murray.
Yes, I've seen.
What a weird little creature he is, no?
Are you talking about the hair?
Just the whole thing of him. There's like two guys like this. I just want to talk some shit here. Him and this guy, Konstantin Kissick or some shit like that. Both of these guys are like, they're like gnomic goy slaves, I think it's fair to call them. Well, it's not goy slaves. They're not. They don't serve you. They are people who serve me. And for some reason, like I'm like, what is Douglas Murray's job? Like writing a New York Post article every couple of weeks about Columbia anti-Semitism. Like I don't even know where Konstantin Kissick came from, but he does this podcast. I can't remember what it's called. It's probably called like For Real with Konstantin Kissick.
No
and
way.
They all have the same show, which is like they sit across from somebody and they just talk about anti-Semitism. What is the audience for this stuff?
Apparently infinite.
It has to be.
And governmental.
I mean, it is. Yeah, you're right. Correct. But it is like a smaller like podcast sphere than I think any other. Like there's like 4 guests that they share. They're all staff writers at the Free Press. And they just all kind of go around on each other's podcasts and just like the protesters or whatever. Like there's just so much hate in this world. It's the death of the West they talk about. And I don't know. I think Barry Weiss should eat them all. And sort of absorb their chi and spirit and all those things, their souls, and just do one ultimate 6-hour podcast every day where she just covers all the ground.
I think we should just get in on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. My name is Bryce.
That was so serious. My name is Liz. Hello.
My name is producer Young Chomsky.
There we go. And this is TrueAnon.
This is TrueAnon.
What up?
It feels like nowhere's safe these days. You try to, catch a quick 18-hour flight down to Thailand. You want to go see the effervescent things in the water there. Take a little bit of MDMA, maybe touch a breast or a buttocks, slick with sweat. So my little hands are falling off of them. I want to kiss. I want a French kiss. I want a French kiss all night. And of course, I have PTSD.
Why is it so gross when you say French kiss?
I want a French kiss. I want to.
Question.
Yes.
Do you think saying French kiss is worse than saying French?
Frenched.
That feels very vintage.
Frenched. I'd like to French a woman or two. And if I have to give a little bit of money, it's no skin off my back. I have a lot of crypto holdings. But I go down. I take this flight. I get off the flight. Of course, I have a headache. I feel bloated. My skin is a mess. And yes, I might have spent the last 6 months posting Instagram stories of me burning children's toys in various houses in Gaza. And I get here and I try to grab a butt, I try to grab a boob, things I've been doing for years, and then people videotape themselves beating the shit out of me. And it's just a crime. No, I shouldn't use the accent for that because I feel like Mordecai...
First of all, yeah, American.
He's American. He doesn't even know what Israel is.
What's the Israeli accent? It's my favorite.
I feel like you could probably do a good one.
I don't. I wouldn't lower myself to doing such a thing.
Yeah. Wait. What is? It's like European, but
they have kind of the French R going on.
Yeah.
In Israel.
It's it's a he said, she said situation. It's
a little too
You just
guest
Pepe Le
on.
Pew. It is kind of Pepe Le Pew, though.
It is a little bit of it's a
Spiritually.
he said she
Militant
said
Pepe Le Pew.
situation. It's very complicated. I don't know. I can't do it, but it's European based, and I can't really do. I can kind of only do an Australian accent and the Mordecai accent. I can't really do any other ones besides that. But I'm thinking of adopting the Israeli accent in order to get maybe a deal on Barry Weiss's Substack.
Okay, before we get into what we're talking about today, we have to get a little housekeeping out of the
you're
way.
right. Yeah.
We're doing some live shows. We've already announced them. We're announcing them again because they've now gone on sale for everybody.
Yeah, actually, they've been on sale since Monday.
So there you go. Here's the thing. The first two are sold out.
They are sold out. Why are you looking at me? I
don't
didn't
know.
fucking do it. I didn't buy a single ticket. They're sold out.
They're sold out, which means that there are still tickets available for the final two.
Which are going to be better. Sorry. Now that you guys bought the tickets for the first two.
It's true.
The last two are definitely
Because
be better.
we're gonna get all of our, willies out.
We're going to get all our willies out. No, but here the reality is we're doing a different kind of show. Everyone's going to be different. And frankly, the first time, we're going to fuck this up really badly.
No.
So it's going to be 2 hours of us on stage going, does your laptop
Shuffling
work?
around.
Hold on. Wait. Can you guys give me a second? Don't
Just
look.
kind of like shifting from stool to stool.
Yeah, we're going to have like 8 stools up there. Me and Liz are just going
Only
between
stools,
them.
nothing else.
Are we going to sit? I've been thinking about this.
We are going to sit and stand and maybe do some other things.
Dance.
What else are we going to do?
You're going to fucking find out when you do what I tell you.
I'm going to show them my yoni. We have tickets available for the 10:30 show. That's October 30th night, Halloween Eve.
Mischief night.
And yeah, mischief.
it shall be one.
It shall be a mischievous evening. We might have a Dracula.
Oh,
We
yeah,
might have a
mischievous one.
Frankenstein. We might have a skeleton.
Don't get too scary.
And then what's the last one? 11:19.
Yes.
Look at that, master memory.
Is it? Wait,
said-
I think that it is 11/19. Do you remember reading the dates for the tour and how much fun we would have with that?
I
think
thought I
people
was just
really
being clear.
miss you reading the dates for the tour.
11/19. That is November 19th of 2025 is going to be the final show, and frankly, probably the last one for many years because I am getting my face removed. But
I saw a lady at Penn Station today with a full Skims style chin wrap.
strap.
She was bruised, big hat. I think she was going to most likely going to the Hamptons.
She
I'm
got
guessing.
the what's it called, Kybella?
No, I think it was a full. No, she didn't get Kybella. I think she was getting a
You
full
idiot.
facelift.
Dude, sorry.
First of all, she was like bruised around, and she had the chin strap
That's what I'm
on.
saying. The chin's. Oh, she had the chin. Oh, it's around her head.
Yeah. Plus
Wow.
a big sort of Kentucky style
There's
hat.
gonna be a ton of females like that at this bitch.
At the
What?
shows.
There's
the
going to be a
shows?
ton of females who have recently gone life-changing, in a good way, cosmetic surgery at our
Salon
shows.
style.
Yeah, and I am going to point it out.
I'm
going
going
to
to be up there. Well, we're both because we're getting face off before
I'm
we
getting
do it.
reverse Kybella. I'm getting a goiter put in.
I'm going to get the facial masculinization surgery.
I'm getting a titty. I'm getting a single titty.
But you're not going to tell people where you're putting it.
Because it's going to be a tail. Oh, dude, I still have that tail. Shout out to Izzy, but I still have that tail. And I should...
If you don't explain what that means, it doesn't sound right.
I was given a human tail at our Bell House show way back when. The first show I think we ever did here, because I said I wanted a human tail on the podcast. And
I don't even remember you saying that. It just appeared.
well, it was a big deal for me.
You have it at
And
home?
I have it at home. I haven't. No, the guy gave it to me at the show.
Yeah, but it should be here. In the
I feel
studio.
like your house is kind of like Wonder Emporium of all like various.
It's like Ripley's Believe It or
Yes.
Well, I
There's
would say what I just
many-
got, but I can't
You
say it
can't
on the
say
show.
it.
I can't
But
say
But
it
you
on
have just
not
like
this episode.
many. I don't
It's
know.
the Muter Museum over
It
there.
is the fucking Muter Museum.
a lot
but
of shit there.
Weirder somehow.
I got a lot of artifacts up in that motherfucker.
You do. It's not even just artifacts. It's
Mutant babies.
I
in
don't
jars.
know.
Yeah, I do have a thing
Yeah.
in a jar. Yeah, but that's
and just
whatever,
like
that's a lot.
guys. You got a lot of guys over there.
All right, pause. That's not true.
You do. You got a lot of weird little guys over there.
I do always have guys in my house.
shirtless guys.
People come in and out of my house like it's a flop house.
Well, you kind of run it like one.
And I do, and I don't lock the door.
And you love
Just
it.
playing. I don't lock the door to invite you in, so I'll blow your fucking brains
No, because you
out.
lock it after they come in. That's the move.
yeah. I got a button. Like, what's that? Was it the Charlie Rose?
Charlie Rose.
Yeah, I got a Charlie Rose button.
No, wait,
Not
it
for
wasn't Charlie
girls.
Rose. It was fucking Brian Williams.
I got the Brian Williams
They all
button.
got buttons.
They
Those
all
sort
got-
of guys.
You know that Charlie Rose had a button too, though. But for real though, we have tickets on sale for 10/10, October 10th.
No, that's sold out.
That's sold out. That's sold out.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's the show. And that's the show that Andy Milonakis is going to be on. That's the show that Andy Milonakis is going out on.
Yeah.
No, we got tickets for 10:30, and we have tickets for 11/19. That's October 30th and November 19th of 2025.
And
Those
there's a
tickets-
link to buy in the description.
Link to bio. You like that?
No.
We've never done really a link tree situation. Because
We
maybe
did.
those are associated with porn.
We had a link tree
What was in
when
there?
we were on tour.
What? I don't think those are associated with porn.
Well, I see a link tree in a profile. I'm like one click away from.
Amazon wish list.
Yeah, and well, come on. But I'm like Linktree is not for me.
Linktree for
for
thee,
thee.
but not for
Yeah.
me. Let's get to the episode.
We have today with us Jake Rom, finally on the show after,
Yeah.
frankly, accompanying us to several of our Israel-themed outings. He came to the October 8th. He came to both October 8ths that we went to.
I thought we just did it once.
No, we went
Well,
to the
the first
movie,
was-
and then we also went to the October 8th museum
Experience.
Finally on the show to talk about the Hindra Job Foundation, and I found it to be a very edifying conversation.
Yeah, I think that you guys will really like this. So let's just get into it.
So, Jacob, an interesting thing happened when I Googled your organization the other day. Above your group's website, there was an ad from an organization that I'm not saying I trust, but many people do trust, the government of Israel. And interestingly enough, it was about your organization. And I found it, well, actually, to be completely honest, I have to break character a little bit. The dossier does actually fucking suck. It's not a very good dossier. It's not a very good smear dossier. But the introduction to the dossier I found very interesting. It says, the Hindra Job Foundation presents itself as a legitimate legal advocacy group dedicated to holding the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, accountable for alleged war crimes. However, behind this facade lies a disturbing reality. This report, which again sucks and we're not even going to read from, reveals the HRF's deep connections to extremist ideologies and terrorist organizations, raising serious concerns about its true motives. HRF actively gathers and disseminates information on IDF soldiers living abroad, aiming to subject them to legal harassment and potentially jeopardize their safety. The foundation has filed complaints against soldiers across multiple countries and submitted reports to the International Criminal Court alleging, quote, war crimes committed by numerous soldiers and officers. So, Jake Rom, first of all, welcome to the show. Maybe, after reading this, not so sure. You are the U.S. representative of the Hindra Job Foundation. How do you plead?
Yeah, guilty as charged. We do subject them to legal filings. We do want to put them in harm's way insofar as jail is a form of harm. And
Or the safest place of all.
it could well be the safest place of all for them. It's certainly safer for them than Gaza. And we are filing charges against them for war crimes. But we're also filing charges against them for crimes against humanity and also genocide. So they did miss those. As far as extremist ideologies, I have read the dossier and I've read the site multiple times. They never actually name them.
They don't.
They don't name them, and they don't say what our true motive is. Because
No.
our true motive is to get these Israeli soldiers. That is the true motive, and that is what they don't like.
I'm also a little confused on what legal harassment is. It's like, well, if it's legal, then
Right, we're legally
It's not like
harassing.
slap. Yeah, it's not like slap
not a
charge
slap
or whatever.
But,
cases.
but they don't. No, they just sort of vaguely gesture towards things by basically saying, it's the same thing as saying like it's all Hamas. It's all Hamas to me.
Well, the way
Well,
it
we're
was
all
present-
Hezbollah, according to them.
Yes.
Which is,
So they do claim you guys are Hezbollah, but
Yeah.
also it's like when I started reading the dossier, I was like, oh, this is gonna be like 50 pages. It's gonna be some guys like tweets or whatever. And it's 11 pages. And I
Yep.
think one of those is the credits and one of those is like the cover. And so I'm like, this sucks. This is all you got on this?
Yeah, they really have nothing. And if you look at the J Post, like JNS, they are talking about this shit all the time.
Yes.
But it's always, again, in these extremely vague strokes, and they're terrified. And it's like kind of changed what it's caused the Israeli government to try to change soldiers' behavior to no avail, because they can't just like shut us down. It's all volunteer. It's all donation based. They've tried various things of like pressuring states, and we've had, difficulties with banks, but they've all been resolved. Like these things, like the dossier, they just don't really work against us, partially because none of us are also like running for office.
Yeah.
Like you can't get me fired from the Hindra Foundation by saying that I'm attacking Israeli soldiers through legal means.
Yeah. That's the point.
That's the point. That's the whole point of the work. Yeah.
So let's back up for a second and explain to our listeners exactly what the Hindra Foundation is and what work you are doing there.
Okay, so the Hindra Foundation was started. When was it started? Started in like February under that name.
Mm-hmm.
It is associated with something called the March 30th movement, which was also founded by the Hindra Foundation founder Diab Abu Jaja in Belgium, which Diab had previously worked on filing a case in Belgium against Ariel Sharon for his role in Sabra and Shatila.
Mm-hmm.
Sabra and Shatila, sorry. And that case was filed, and predictably, the Belgian authorities just kind of changed the law.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
In
Sharon could
response?
avoid. Yeah.
Okay.
So that he could avoid accountability. And then, when the genocide started, Diab and his colleagues wanted to kind of restart the legal strategy. And so they started the Hindra Foundation, which is named after Hind Rajab, who, as many listeners will probably remember, was a 6-year-old girl who was murdered along with members of her family in late January 2024 as they were driving south. They were fleeing northern Gaza after one of the numerous evacuation orders. Their car came under fire from, I believe, an Israeli tank, and it was just sprayed with like 300 something bullets. It killed the family members that she was with, and ultimately it was just her alone in the car begging for help over the phone. The Palestinian Red Crescent dispatched an ambulance to go and get her, and once they arrived at the scene, they too came under fire, and no one was allowed on the scene for weeks at a time, because the Israelis wanted to cover it up. And they first claimed that this didn't happen at all. We had no troops in the area.
Yep.
And then once people were finally allowed on the scene, I think 2 weeks later, they saw all the bodies of the ambulance workers, of Hind and her family, and they were just riddled with bullets. And the car, I think the ambulance had exploded. And there's obviously no denying what had happened, right? And so
part of the reason that was such an arresting incident for I think a lot of people is because she's on the phone. You listen to like a little girl's phone call after her family has just been killed in front of her, like pleading for help, and then also with the now knowledge that and pretty much immediately afterwards as well, that the people sent to help her were also executed by soldiers.
Yeah. And so, the name is, the reason the foundation adopted the name is that like her murder is so indicative of just there's countless events, or just uncounted events like this throughout the course of the genocide. And they do it so brazenly.
Yeah.
And she's on the phone, and they're just shooting up a child and killing the ambulance workers who are coming to get them. And then they try to deny it, and then they say, well, we looked into it and no one was there, and no one's been held accountable. And so the organization started precisely to hold these low-level soldiers accountable. The people who killed Hindra Rajab and everyone like her. Like Netanyahu didn't murder Hindra Rajab. Netanyahu didn't give the direct order to murder Hindra Rajab. These are just the maniac Israeli soldiers on the ground who are operating with complete operational impunity and killing everyone in sight. And these are the guys who are not captured by things like the International Criminal Court and who need to be held to account, because the culture of impunity goes from Netanyahu down to like the lowest like level 18-year-old conscript.
Yeah, who is also a sergeant major.
Yes, general in the
No, I mean, this is so interesting to me because it seems like such a, like, how do you even legally maneuver all of this, right? Like, what is available to, like, across the world? Because obviously you can't go after these guys in Israel, right?
Right.
But across the world, obviously, all different countries have different, not just like different laws. That's an interesting thing for me to say. But also respect international law at different, to different degrees and have different political pressures. And so, like, how do you guys kind of maneuver all of that when you're trying to build these cases?
Yeah, so, well, first and foremost, it is important that these people will not be held to account in Israel.
Yeah.
Because there's an issue in international law called complementarity, which is that if you have to exhaust measures in the local jurisdiction. Often that's the case. And what that means is that if the local jurisdiction is bringing in its own investigation or is willing to or is trying to, you kind of have to let them go through that process. But it's become like very, very clear forever, but also particularly now, that they're not going to do that.
Israel.
In Israel,
Yeah.
right, yeah. Like not one single soldier in Israel has even been, to my knowledge, brought before a court, let alone arrested and convicted.
Are you not a single soldier?
For crimes in Gaza.
Yeah.
There was one guy who was convicted for, I forget, it's called like misconduct or something, for the torture in State Anon, and he got 7 months.
Yeah.
7 months?
7 months. I think he maybe didn't serve all of it either.
No, I mean
Yeah.
that's the thing, that even a cursory observation of the Israeli legal system, especially vis-a-vis, now I'm trying to sound like a lawyer here.
Yeah. It's in your blood.
Armed conflict. So okay, he's
I'm allowed to say.
Listen, if you could see this guy, but I mean, this happens so frequently that it's almost impossible to not find an example from like the past week, like that fucking that settler guy,
Right, yeah.
who
Murdered someone on
just
camera.
murdered someone on camera.
Yeah.
Shut and closed case, cut and dry case.
Well, it was cut and like all over social media immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just shoot someone on camera, arrested or taken in, and then just let go.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just, and that's somebody who is not even a uniform member of the IDF or anything, although he's the full backing of the IDF.
Right.
I mean, for the IDF, countries oftentimes fail to prosecute, or I don't know, failed is the right word there, but choose not to prosecute their own soldiers for war crimes. With oftentimes the big reason being morale.
Right.
And that is actually a huge, huge, huge thing in Israel, with the government being seen as having basically everyone's back no matter the situation.
Yeah. And because there's, again, like a top to bottom culture of impunity, which is also a top to bottom culture of committing genocide.
Yeah.
When you're committing a genocide, it's always a vast undertaking of the entire state.
Yeah.
It's not just, I think, Raoul Hilberg in his like this huge book on the Holocaust, he says, the Holocaust was not really a matter of a directive, but of all of the organs of the state acting in like a cooperative spirit to achieve a single goal. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing in Israel. But to get back to your question about how we navigate the international scene, I think we're not doing international trials.
Right.
We're specifically doing national trials is what we're after. For national trials, you have like the ICJ, but that's only between states. It's not criminal. You have the ICC, which moves very, very slowly.
Sure.
Is very under-resourced. And
political,
right?
I mean, all of them are, but this is...
But because of where their funding comes from, and them being subject to sanctions, and them not being a state with any kind of clout on the international level. They're especially subject to political pressure, and generally just don't have the resources or the time to go after a large number of perpetrators. They've only filed against Netanyahu and Gallant, and it's been 2 years of this.
Right.
And there's been many more guys who, even for like the ICC threshold of just the worst of the worst, the highest ranking, many more guys who should fall under that ambit, right? Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, Yehuda Vach.
Instead, they just come and speak here in America.
Right, yeah.
So we just invite them to our universities.
Well, no, instead, Ben-Gvir, who is, I would say a Goebbelsian, if not Hitlerian figure. He spoke at 770
Goebbelsian.
I guess that would be more correct. He spoke at 770 Crown Heights, and then that was reframed when there was protesters there, and all those guys, the young men of the neighborhood, rioted against the protesters there and against some women walking around. It was framed as like this anti-Semitic incident that happened. When it's like you have somebody right there who is like even those Zionists who, like the Hen Mazigs of the world, find
the
tough to
boys.
defend. Yeah, the soft ones.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, so it's the ICC has like very little.
Right.
They have, how many divisions does the ICC have?
I don't even know. Not
None.
that many. Yeah.
None?
Right. I realize you meant military divisions. And then, so the only other like international thing that could happen is a special tribunal, like with the ICTY or the ICTR, but those get authorized by the Security Council, and who's on the Security Council, right? The United States, England, like they're not gonna do that.
Sure.
So the only real way to kind of get accountability for basically anyone, but especially low-ranking soldiers, is to pursue them in national courts under different theories of jurisdiction. And when we say in national courts, we mean, one, that they are applying international law, but through their domestic legal systems. Like the United States has incorporated the Genocide Convention into its domestic law.
I see.
So the Genocide Convention is federal law.
Yeah.
And so you don't need to go to an international court to enforce the Genocide Convention. You can arrest someone for violations of the Genocide Convention in the United States under U.S. law, just as an example.
Theoretically.
It's not going to happen. But theoretically, you could do it if you...
had the political will.
Right. So, we kind of operate on 3 tiers. So the first tier, I'd say I'll go in reverse order of importance for the work we do. The first tier is we give a lot of information to the ICC. We have like a really incredible research team that is able to track these guys as they commit crimes in Gaza. And so we know like what unit was operating in the Netzarim corridor during these weeks. And we know who they killed. And we know then also where these guys go when they fly around the world. And so we kind of give that information to the ICC. One of the first big things we did was we filed this big dossier, this big complaint of like 1,000 soldiers.
Yeah, that was like one of the original sort of like missions you guys had, right?
Right. Yeah. But then again, that doesn't really. They say thank you, and they are hopefully doing something with it. But again,
it feels more like due diligence than anything else, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's
1,000 guys?
Yeah, 1,000 guys. The dossier is 1,000 different guys.
When did you guys put this in?
That one was January. That was before it was even formally called the Hindra Foundation, I think.
Think of how many war crimes you guys have to be doing to like have like a foundation that's basically all volunteer.
Right.
Be able to give a dossier on 1,000 individual people like that.
And that's like nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing.
There's so many guys.
Yeah.
It's the whole state, right? And we're so far, because of resource and like capacity things, like we're just focused on Gaza, but like they're doing war crimes in Lebanon. They're doing war crimes in Syria. The stuff in the West Bank, technically Gaza's a war crimes. It's an occupation. So, there's a lot more to cover. So that's the first tier. The second tier is against guys that we call traveling soldiers. And these are people who are Israeli nationals or nationals of another state, but they're not in their home country. They're traveling around. It's usually between tours in Gaza. Israelis love to go on holiday to specifically to Latin America and Southeast Asia. And everyone's seen those videos of them getting beaten up in Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, they're very much not liked around the world and all the countries they go to. But
So wait, I do want to just, for our listeners who are just coming into this, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, no idea what's going on, can you explain why?
why they're not liked in those
Yes.
countries? Okay, a great example is I was a few years ago, I was in Bosnia, and I was talking to this girl, and she grew up in rural Chile. And she was telling me that how much she hated Israelis. And I'm like, why? Same, but why? Like, that's interesting. And she said that one time when she was pretty young, she was, her car broke down. She was driving with her family. Her car broke down on the side of the road in this area that was very dangerous for like mudslide reasons or like some kind of like geographical reasons. Like you wouldn't want to be there with young children for very long.
Yeah.
And it's pretty remote. And this van drives by and they were able to flag it down. And it's full of Israelis. Her dad walks up to them and is like, hey, can you guys help us out? We like need a spare tire or need a jumper cable or whatever it was. And instead of helping them out, they're just like, go like, fuck you, and drive away. And that is, you know, she was telling me that everyone in where she's from kind of hates Israelis because that is their typical behavior. Or in Thailand, they're like handsy and rude with women and they get assault people and then they get beaten up. And yeah.
I mean, listen. I'm not an expert on this by any means, but from what I can understand, I'm a man of the world and I love everybody.
It's true. You're very worldly.
I'm very worldly. And however, I'm not too versed in some of these areas. Like I've never been to South America. I've never been to Thailand, particularly where Israelis hang out, Pattaya. But from what I understand from talking to many people is that English travelers often looked down upon, especially in certain areas like
British tourists.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everyone's
tourists.
favorite. Everyone loves the British tourists.
But people also, and I recognize this even from just being in San Francisco, I found Israeli tourists to be exceptionally rude. And I think that is like, let's be honest. Listen, there's other countries that say the stereotype as well. But Israelis are pretty fucking rude people. And I think that doesn't translate well when you're traveling, specifically like you're on the beach in Thailand, you're on day 3 of MDMA and some guy is going like, whoa, to your girlfriend, and thus is, given rise to many a minorly viral video of Israelis getting beat up there.
Yeah. And also, it's not unrelated to what's happening in Gaza.
No.
Which is to say, I mean, one, like they are just having spent a decent amount of time in Israel when I was much younger, they are just very rude and they're kind of like proud of it being part of their culture. They're like, oh, we're just very direct and we are kind of rude. We'll cut in line, but that's just, that's how we are because we're all about mishpacha, whatever. But it's also part and parcel with the culture of impunity where they're used to for as long as there has been in Israel, they're used to committing heinous war crimes and no one stopping them and getting away with everything. And so you get these like 18-year-olds who go join the military and then get stationed in the West Bank and get to, beat up on little kids or murder them for throwing rocks. And they're told this is great and nothing happens to them. And there's like kind of also this culture of machismo as well.
Yeah.
And then they finish their service a few years later, and they go traveling and that's the life they're used to. And so they go to this place, like I can do whatever I want. And also they're like crazy racist.
Yeah.
So they go to Latin America, they go to Southeast Asia, they like are looking at these people and not really seeing them as people and bringing that whole impunity with them and they just cause trouble kind of.
Well, I mean, that's going to come naturally, right? Like say you're in an IDF soldier stationed in the West Bank or whatever. You roll around with your buddies in an armored vehicle. Anybody fucks with you, you pull out a gun on them, you fucking, you bust into their house, you arrest anybody, you shoot anybody you want. That mindset will stay with you even after getting out of uniform or whatever. And so it's kind of no wonder that these kind of things happen. I mean, I think it really is sort of part and parcel with the rudeness that is kind of in the culture.
What you're
there.
saying too, I mean, being born into a segregated society is going to completely warp your outlook on the rest of the world.
Right.
Yeah. Because you also have that like, you don't even have really like the lip service towards any kind of like equality that you might have in other societies, which might also be racist, but don't have that specific system of apartheid in them.
And like when Iran was shooting missiles, Israel, what like they're calling like the 12-day war, or like Trump is calling it that or something. You had those videos of them like not letting the Thai migrant workers come into the bomb shelters.
Yeah.
right? It's like not just against Palestinians; it's against everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also against me, like Mizrahi Jews.
Yeah,
and Ethiopian
yeah.
Jews. But anyway, yeah. So traveling soldiers travel around the world, largely to Latin America and Southeast Asia, and when they're there, we know about it because we can track them, often via social media, and because they post about their war crimes, but then they're also posting Instagram
We're
stories.
talk
like
a lot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
like I'm in Brazil now. It's like, okay, great, you're in Brazil. Brazil has jurisdiction over you now for the crime of genocide, for war crimes, crimes against humanity. That's almost everywhere. It's kind of built into national laws that you have in the United States too. Weirdly enough, you have jurisdiction just based on physical presence for these like the most serious international crimes.
There's a name for that, right?
It's called a universal jurisdiction, and universal jurisdiction exists as like a principle in international law, but then it has also been codified in certain treaties. It's in the Geneva Convention, Article 146 of Geneva 4, and then it's also in the other three, but I don't remember the numbers in the other three, but it's a common article between all four Geneva Conventions, that states have an obligation to not just prosecute, but like to search for anyone who is alleged to have committed grave breaches within their jurisdiction and to bring them to trial.
Mm-hmm.
So to actively go after.
Yeah, they have.
So that's very different.
Yeah, it's not just that like, oh, you can. It's like you shall go after them,
Yeah.
and it's regardless of nationality. So universal jurisdiction is in Geneva. It's in the Convention Against Torture. It's in the Genocide Convention, and then it's also again in national laws. So when a soldier travels, again, for example, to Brazil, Brazil has jurisdiction just based on their physical presence. We prepare a filing, which is a dossier of evidence, and then the crimes that this person committed and the kind of legal justification for jurisdiction presented to a prosecutor and say, go get them. And this is often they just like sit on their hands, so they don't have to do anything. Sometimes the Israelis get wind of this and the soldier flees, or as what happened actually in Brazil, they are evacuated by the Israeli government to Argentina.
Let's clarify.
They have a rat line.
They have a rat line because this happened twice.
Mm-hmm.
Two Israeli soldiers in two different cases that were both filed by the Hindra Job Foundation. They were spirited out of Brazil clandestinely because they were facing war crimes charges to Argentina.
Yeah.
Which is just, I mean, my God.
The rhyming is a little, the
is
historical rhyming is a little much.
But then they were also spirited out of Argentina back to Israel when you guys opened a case against them there.
Yes. And this also happened.
So did they keep posting that they were in other countries?
I'm pretty sure. I don't actually remember how we found out that they were in the other country, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just posted like in Argentina. Just on their Instagram story again. But this happened also in Cyprus as well.
Yeah.
And I think Sri Lanka was another place in which they were spirited away.
Yeah, the Cyprus stuff, there's been a lot of...
They love going to Cyprus.
Yeah, they love going to Cyprus.
Ayanapa.
Surprised Cyprus would bring the case against them. They have to, right?
They don't got a lot going
Yeah, but
on.
also like...
Well,
like sometimes it's just that we file it.
Right.
And nothing... It's not even in the investigation stage yet. They just freak out and run away.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be real. If I was like on vacation somewhere and someone filed the charges against me for war crimes, even if there wasn't like a cop at my door, I'd probably be like, all right, I'm going to...
you're fighting that rat line?
Yeah.
So let's go back because what we're talking about in Brazil, this actually did really happen.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that case?
Yeah, sure. So there's a guy in Brazil, and he... I mean, they're all nasty characters, right? He was a nasty character just like everyone else. He was guilty of... he was blowing up a lot of civilian property.
Do you guys, of course, remember, and you see so fewer of these videos, what a weird way to phrase that, but you know what I mean. You see far less of these videos now, but especially at the beginning of the war, I guess now they've actually just blown up every building. So that's probably why you would see
Right,
as many
yeah.
videos. But there would be these guys who'd be like doing shout outs, standing on some sort of like hilltop or whatever, some vista, and then doing like a Wile E. Coyote, you know, push the plunger down on the bomb thing, and then blowing up like an entire row of houses.
Yeah.
Right.
And there would be no like justification, like military justification. They would say like, you know, this is for, you know, some person who got killed or whatever on October 7th, or this is for this, or even just something, you know, maybe religious, or even a shout out to some friends or whatever. I mean, it was wanton destruction.
Yes. And doing it for reprisal, which a lot of them do, they'll say this is, you know, revenge for our fallen comrade. That's also an independent war crime.
Right.
In addition to just blowing up the property, doing reprisals.
So blowing up the property counts as a war crime.
Yes, because you're blowing up civilian property without military justification.
Yeah.
And one of the ways you know it's without military justification is because they've done a planned demolition of someone's house. There's no
Yes.
one in it. If it was occupied by fighters, which would be kind of the only justification, then you couldn't go around to each floor and plant your chargers and then film yourself laughing while you blow it up.
Yeah, to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we're not talking here about somebody like shooting a apartment block with a tank or whatever and coming down. We're talking about people going in and wiring the buildings with explosives, walking through people's bedrooms, putting bombs up, and then leaving and blowing it up. So this is
Not just
people-
blowing it up, filming it.
Yeah, filming it and putting it on fucking Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On your fucking Instagram stories, blowing it up.
Which is why it's like real easy kind of to assemble these dossiers of evidence a lot of the time, because it's just like, here's a video of him saying, I'm going to do the war crime, and then he does the war crime. And you're like, that's kind of all you need.
Yeah.
But it's also important to clarify here that, so blowing up civilian property without military justification is a war crime, as is blowing up like civilian infrastructure like mosques and schools, also a war crime, blowing up hospitals, also a war crime, and et cetera. But these are also all acts of genocide, right? Like destroying all of the dwellings in Gaza is an act of genocide. It is like creating conditions of life that will bring about like I can't remember the exact wording in the convention, but like creating the conditions of life to bring about the extermination of the people. So, you know, while in the context of the ongoing genocide, you know, blowing up an unoccupied house seems minor compared to, you know, the murder of Hindra. It is also one of the main ways in which the genocide is being carried out. And so in that regard, it's not just, you know, the infantry and the Air Force, but also the engineering corps play an extremely important role in this. And so one of the things we do, and I think this is important because it also starts to build not just a factual narrative, but a legal narrative, is that when you see these guys blowing up a house, they are committing genocide. And so we charge them with genocide along with the war crimes. Basically always, as far as I can remember. So yeah, this guy was blowing up a lot of civilian property. We had a lot of videos of him doing it. We had a great lawyer in Brazil, and she filed the case, and it went to the investigation stage. And as soon as it got to the investigation stage, which is the first thing before they're going to issue a warrant, and I think had it progressed, had he not fled, it would have gotten there because they had all the evidence. But as soon as it got to the investigation stage, he somehow got tipped off because it was secret up until then. And then the Israeli government got tipped off, and he was able to leave. Maybe right-wing elements of the state, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that was the Brazil case, and this was a very successful instance of the traveling soldier strategy, because even though he fled, that's also part of the strategy. Is like, you want to make the world feel real small to these guys.
So
Yeah.
that's another thing. I mean, this guy Yuval Vajdani was on what he called his dream trip to the beaches of Bahia. Bahia?
Bahia.
And I mean, to me, that is, I think, let's say an added bonus of this is that it becomes your dream trip is now canceled.
Right.
Which is I mean, again, it also sounds small when you put it like that, but like the reality is that the Israelis, I think more so than at least in my lifetime, the world is getting smaller for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of they are continually losing, and unfortunately not in a way that has made an appreciable difference yet. But the state is losing legitimacy on some level on the international stage, but also especially
America.
even in America, but especially with individuals.
Yeah.
and people just don't like Israelis anymore. I mean, it's not synonymous with like this plucky,
Startup nation, right?
startup nation, or it's a tough country in a bad neighborhood. It's synonymous with standing in front of a line of civilian apartment buildings and blowing them up with a plunger. And and so like I kind of like that part, but he was sort of spirited away.
Yeah.
In like the middle of the night or whatever, right?
Yeah. And so, when I say like he's a pretty successful example, the spiriting of the way is a sign that there might be consequences, and this has made them afraid. I mean, they've started asking interviewers to blur the faces of soldiers,
and not put their names,
They've asked soldiers not to put videos on TikTok and Instagram anymore, which thankfully has not worked.
Yeah,
because these guys love doing it, and we love that they do it. I mean, that was the Brazil case, and also part of the traveling soldier strategy is that it's global, is that it's everywhere, and because doing it everywhere helps to kind of articulate this really robust position on universal jurisdiction, which has been relatively dormant historically.
Well, since Pinochet,
right? They use it a little bit in Europe against some guys in Syria.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like the Germans, I think, prosecuted like a torturer.
Yeah.
And it was kind of used. It was invoked in some Nazi trials, but relatively dormant. And we want it to be used against Israelis. And like this is a fight that's like it's going on during the genocide because it's very urgent. But jurisdiction doesn't expire.
Right.
For genocide. And it doesn't expire really for war crimes. And we're going to chase these guys as long as we can, as long as they're alive. So like getting the ball rolling now on having states understand that they should and can be using this universal jurisdiction mechanism is extremely important to us. And the more it gets articulated, the more it actually just starts to kind of like become an actionable principle. Like part of the way international law works is through state action.
Yeah.
That's what makes it be a thing. So that's part of it. The other part is that in order to chip away at the culture of impunity and to dissuade volunteers from going over there and signing up, which is a huge problem. So like here in America, especially, you got to make it so they can't like imagine moving to Israel and now it's like you have to stay here forever because if you leave, you're going to jail. People would really
go to jail. I would take the bid.
I would take the jail.
Yeah, I would take the jail.
But like that's part of what we're trying to do with that aspect of the work is make the entire world inhospitable to these guys. And as you said, it's starting to work. I think partially because of what we're doing and partially just because they're so heinous that the world does want nothing to do with them.
There was this great piece that Ynet News, which if you guys at home don't know that website, it's where I get all my news.
I get a lot of interesting articles.
I get all my international news from Ynet News. But they put out this great piece after the case in Brazil. It's called, this is a headline, "A Guide for IDF Soldiers. Here's How to Act If Arrested Abroad and What to Check Before Flight." Following the escape of an IDF soldier from Brazil and the arrest request for another soldier in Chile, concerns are growing about the legal threats IDF personnel face while traveling overseas. Are officers at greater risk? What should soldiers check before their flight? And how should they respond to questions after landing? Here's what you need to know. I love it. It's like a little BuzzFeed article for how to escape legal consequences. But it's funny, there's so many, kind of dumb questions they're asking a defense lawyer at the ICC. And, a lot of them are like, oh, how do you act if you go abroad? What do you do? And it's just like, you should call the consulate, basic kind of, I suppose, advice. Does sharing footage online increase legal risk? Definitely. Soldiers who post videos online provide hostile organizations, that's you, with potential evidence to support suspicions against them. Is it dangerous for a soldier who served in Gaza to travel abroad? The risk stems from the principle of universal jurisdiction. So it goes on. It kind of is repeating a bunch of this stuff. Could I be arrested abroad for actions in Gaza? Evidence linking an individual soldier to illegal acts would be required. It goes on. It says that you should just check check with the international laws, like check with the laws in the country that you plan to visit, which is a crazy thing to say. And my favorite, this is like my favorite thing. I can't even, can insurance cover arrests abroad? He goes, I'm not aware of any insurance company that provides coverage for arrests abroad related to alleged criminal acts. If such an option were to exist, premiums would likely be prohibitively expensive. And I'm just thinking about like you're booking your fucking flight in Israel and it says at the end, like, do you want to add travel insurance? And it's like for, crimes against humanity.
I mean, you say it's a 3-tier strategy. Yeah. And so one is going after these guys who are, going to Tomorrowland Festival in Belgium or whatever. But what is in Boom, Belgium? What are the other tiers?
So the first one was just the sharing of information with the ICC.
Yeah.
Second was the traveling soldiers. And the third, which is the most important and also the kind of least splashy so far, is dual nationals. Because there's a lot of people with dual citizenship who are serving in Gaza. And sometimes they just have dual citizenship and they live in Israel. Sometimes they're just volunteers.
Yeah, like for instance, like if like a lot of Jewish people can get citizenship in Germany, but you don't have to go live in Germany.
Right.
Yeah.
And like every Jewish person is theoretically entitled to citizenship in Israel.
Yeah.
Although, of course, like the way it would actually work is if I wanted to go get citizenship in Israel, which I do not want this.
Yes.
They would not let me do it. I don't think they would let me enter the country. But yeah, so these are people who hold dual nationality, and that means that jurisdiction is always just uncontroversial. Yeah. Like if they go home to, let's say there's a dual national, let's say he's Argentinian, right? If he goes home to Argentina, they have jurisdiction, not based on his physical presence, but just like because he's Argentinian. So you don't need to file very quickly. You can really take your time and wait for the right political moment. You can like really assemble like massive files, just keep on going until the time is right. And so you can move much more slowly here. And these are also cases in which I think it's much more likely to get an arrest because diplomatically, I think it's a little, crazy is the right word. It's like, I don't know, a little more risque to arrest just a foreign national under the principle of universal jurisdiction. Yeah. It's kind of controversial still.
Well, and also Israel, like compared to a country like Nepal, can exercise a lot of weight.
Yeah, they will freak out, which is, to be clear, also part of the strategy.
Yeah. Of course.
Which is we want them to freak out.
Yeah.
You can't make Argentina cut off ties with Israel, but you can make Israel draw their ambassador and do a bunch of horrible things to Argentina that might make them reconsider their relationship if they were to arrest someone.
Yes.
But yeah, it's much less controversial, right, to arrest your own citizen for leaving your country to go commit genocide.
Yeah.
And so with these guys, there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that I can't talk about because I don't want to burn any cases. But these are the guys who I think we're most confident will be arrested and will be put in prison at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, like, fingers crossed this year. Some nice things in the works, but I
like the sound of that.
But we'll see. So that's the most important, but also the least splashy and least like that stuff hasn't made the news yet because it's still cooking.
I want to talk a little bit about the dossiers of evidence that you guys put together because I think, I think everyone has been inundated with a lot of social media videos, whether it's, posted by actual IDF soldiers or just sort of like cobbled together footage of what's going on in Gaza over the years. But for people who haven't, I want to be like explicit kind of about what we're talking about and what you guys are compiling. Because I do think it's really important, there's a reason why Israel is coming out and saying like, okay, you have to stop sharing stuff on social media. That this was like part of the culture that you kind of explained, like within the IDF. Because it makes it even more sort of, it's difficult for me to talk about. It makes it really somehow even more heinous. There's a level of, we were talking about this before we started recording, but this has never happened before, right? Some of that is because of the technology, of social media and just everyone kind of having the like impulse to share everything, but also because of the nature of the genocide. We've never seen anything like this before in modern war crimes. And so I just want to be really explicit about the stuff you guys are compiling and what you're seeing that these guys have put out there or are continuing to put out there for our listeners who haven't come across it.
Yeah, so a lot of what it is, a lot of the videos, I say the majority of the videos that are published on social media are of people blowing up civilian property.
Yeah.
That's the thing they really love to record. And they love to record that because, and this is like also great evidence, as we were saying earlier, that they are committing a war crime, is because it's safe, because there's no one around. They forcibly remove these people from their homes, kick them out, and then they take up residence in these homes sometimes, and they loot them very frequently. This is kind of an underreported problem, is that they're stealing people's money and goods.
Yeah. And women's clothing.
And women's clothing.
It sounds funny,
Yeah.
but there is a huge phenomenon of IDF soldiers wearing the underwear or dresses of women who are either dead or somewhere in a refugee camp, or who knows where, taking pictures in their underwear, it's like a joke.
Yeah, they love to do that. I think partially because of machismo reasons.
Yeah,
partially for military homoeroticism,
of course,
and then partially because it's like a rape threat.
Yeah,
which they also love to make, both there and also anyone who's been to Palestine protest here knows that Zionists here love to threaten you with rape.
They love to threaten you with being raped by somebody else.
Yes.
They're like, go to Gaza, you will be raped. I'm like, I don't know if they would rape me there.
No, I mean, an Israeli might, but
significantly more likely that you will.
Yes. So we have a lot of videos of that, a lot of videos of the women's clothing stuff. We have fewer videos of people actually killing someone. We have a lot of videos of people with and photos as well of people with Palestinians they've detained who are will be covered in bruises and blood and things like that.
And there's some people in particular who are huge. They'll have huge archives of themselves next to all these detained prisoners.
Yeah, who have also been stripped down to their underwear.
Yeah.
And so that is.
That used to be such a scandal. I'm old enough to remember when photos like that scandalized the world, made the cover of magazines.
And it's the dynamic is that because of the pervasiveness of them, they've just ceased to scandalize, right?
Yeah.
Which is scandal in itself. But yeah, so this is evidence of abuse of detainees or oftentimes abuse of civilians or you don't actually know necessarily if they are fighters or civilians, but it's kind of safe to assume they're civilians.
Yeah, well, because they say everybody's a fighter.
Exactly.
So theoretically, I don't think that Hamas has that many members.
No, that's one of the things that's been kind of one of the innumerable failures of reporting is the pre-war estimates of Hamas's fighting strength was 30-something thousand at the absolute max and 20-something thousand at the low. And the Israelis have routinely been 40,000 fighters have been killed, and Hamas still has a bunch. It's well, against your own estimates, obviously not true.
Yeah,
yeah. It's really just very stupid.
Well, they do the classic American thing too of being military age male equals Hamas.
Exactly.
And even the concept of military age male is such a crazy war on terror kind of
slip.
Well, it's just advancement, I guess, in military linguistics, because a military age male, you mean a 17-year-old?
Totally.
Okay, or a 48-year-old school it's meaningless.
It's completely meaningless. And the U.S. was doing this shit in Vietnam constantly.
Yeah.
They'd shoot up an entire village.
Yeah, and then say everyone's VC.
Exactly, and they put a rifle next to them. Be see?
They don't even do that here.
No, yeah.
They did it in one. There was one kind of famous video where they did it. Where you know what I'm talking about?
Where they were in the hospital and they had the box of dates and an old pistol or something.
Yeah.
And they were this is a stronghold.
With
that
detainees. One? They did it with detainees. There was a bunch of guys in their underwear. This is from a year and a half ago. They had a bunch of guys in their underwear, and then they just put an AK near them, and they're well.
Right. He was.
They're sharing it
for it. Yeah.
So
we have a lot of pictures of that. What we don't have, and for reasons of just like, I think they're too busy to take the videos, but they would if they could. You don't have a lot of videos of them actively committing murder.
Well, also the reality is too, a lot of the videos are filmed on phone.
Yeah.
And if you're firing your gun, you're not going to be using your phone. You're
Right.
going to be using a GoPro. And they might have the good sense to know that if the footage might not.
Right. They're not, the military's not issuing them
That's
GoPros
too
yet.
much.
Yeah.
You have a lot of videos of people shooting machine guns just indiscriminately into
ton
homes,
of
and you don't
videos
know
of
if they're
that.
occupied.
Yeah.
But so for things like that, for like snipers or people like that, our researchers will figure out what unit they're in and figure out where that unit was at what time, like down to the street that they were operating on, and then based on that information, be like, okay, so X number of people were murdered during this week while this unit was operating here, and now we have to do the work of figuring out who was in that unit, and if that person was in that unit that was operating at the time that all of these people were murdered in like a kill zone in Netzarim, then it's very safe to say this guy probably murdered some people in Netzarim during that time period, and you can include that in the filing, and you're going to want to do further investigation. But I mean, crucially, what we're asking for is we give these filings to prosecutors who then have to launch an investigation.
Sure.
And we never file anything unless it's kind of like ready for prosecution, which is to say if we have established a prima facie case, but like they need to then do the investigation. And in order to do that, they need to go arrest these guys and interrogate them and seize their phones, because there's certainly some stuff on the phones. There's certainly some messages. Sometimes they have text messages being like, we have one from a sniper who's like, 4 shots, 0 misses. And he texted this to someone or posted this during a ceasefire. So, right. So this is one of the problems we continually run into with, people getting spirited away is we are just asking states over and over again. It's like, when we do the filing, take their passports, go get them, take their passports. Or if you can't find them, put out a call at the airports, at the train stations, do not let them leave because the evidence is leaving with them.
So this reminds me of what just happened in Belgium, right? There was 2 members of is it Gavati Brigade?
Yeah, I think it was them.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
The pronunciation I'm a little hazy on. Who, classic, you know what, you love it, have been accused of numerous war crimes in Gaza. They went to the Tomorrowland Festival in Boom, Belgium. God knows what kind of atrocious sort of EDM they were listening to. But European festivals, from what I gather from seeing pictures of like Glastonbury or whatever, people always have flags for some reason. I don't know why the practice of this. Maybe because they have all those tiny countries. And you got to be sure we're the Luxembourg contingent. But they were flying their brigade's flags there.
Yeah.
And somebody saw that.
Yep.
And was it you guys that saw that?
I think it was us.
Jesus Christ. You guys saw that and filed charges with the Belgian courts, who came to the festival. Armed officers came to the festival and took these guys out.
Yeah.
Not took them out as in shot them. I mean, took them out of the festival.
Physically removed them.
Yes.
Yeah. Physically removed them from the festival and interrogated them. And this was actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah. This was a huge deal, and we were really excited about it because, one, it was in Europe, which has up until that moment been very reluctant to do anything to stop the genocide or to bring any Israeli soldier to account. But also because they specifically did it under the principle of universal jurisdiction. And that's a big deal for, the more states that do that, as I was saying earlier, the more states will feel comfortable doing it. It very much helps that that's a European state. It's good that it's also not like, maybe Belgium is marginal, but like not marginal in like a governmental sense. Yeah. In the sense it's like the heart of the EU is there. And also they were arrested and interrogated, and they did it very promptly.
Yeah.
And so that's a sign that like something has shifted in Belgium. But unfortunately, they were released, and this is fine. They can not be in detention as long as you keep them in country. I don't even actually know if they're still in country, but since then, the Belgians have referred the case to the ICC.
Is that good or bad?
Well, it's mostly bad.
Yeah.
in the sense that we want national courts to arrest these guys and try them under their national laws and put them in their domestic prisons for the crimes that they have committed. And if they get referred to the ICC, then it's the state saying, oh, well, we did our part and now we're passing the buck to someone else who realistically is not going to be able to handle it
Yeah.
in any meaningful amount of time. So on the one hand, it's good because it means that the Belgian authorities recognize that these guys are international criminals who should be at The Hague, and they did do an investigation that brought them to this point. And so that was a very promising step. But we wish that they had kept them in country and put them through the national legal system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also, this is kind of a little bit off topic, but was it Belgium where the Maccabees thing happened?
No. That was in the Netherlands.
Okay, that was in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Because you guys also filed charges there.
Yes, and then the footage was mysteriously lost.
Wait, what happened?
Yeah.
So, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you might remember the sort of breathless reporting about these sort of mysterious pogroms that happened against innocent Israeli.
You're talking about the hooligans,
Football. Let's say football fans who were traveling as tourists,
friendly fans,
and a sort of narrative that became very, let's say, aggressive, and then was
that was
sort of
everywhere. I want to
dissolved.
say that was everywhere. I heard that from people that I wouldn't even think would hear that news.
Yeah.
And I heard that they were hearing that news. I think the Free Press did like, 3 weeks on
yes.
it.
Right, yeah.
Oh my God.
Hitting every channel they
They
could.
deployed Maya Solkit out there.
That was a huge fucking story. But let's go back and what you're saying. Let's explain it for our listeners who don't remember.
There was sort of football hooligan riots done by visiting Maccabee supporters at a football club in Israel. And I want to be clear here, and this is no defense of Israel or Israelis. If things ever change in this world and we get a more, let's say, a governments that stand up for the people a little more, we're arresting all football hooligans because they are
Right off the bat, yeah.
If you've ever read Among the Thugs,
Yep,
you got to
yeah.
realize these people are crazy.
They're almost all just Nazis.
Yeah,
yeah.
or if they're not, they might as well be.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
I just
There's not
remember a scene from
ideological
Among the
about it.
Thugs where like all these British guys go to Italy, ostensibly to go to this game, do not go anywhere near the stadium and just destroy a neighborhood and like stab
Yeah.
15 people.
Yeah.
That's
who
not good.
have nothing to do with football whatsoever. But so this is something that like there's certain clubs from a bunch of different countries have like insane fans, and Maccabees is one of them.
Yes.
And so these guys go to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And they do their thing, and the Netherlands has a rather large Arab population, and thus there's Palestinian flags, and also just people support or whatever. There's Palestinian flags. They're like all these footage of them just like going in neighborhoods and tearing down Palestinian flags, beating the shit out of people, and I feel like all this sort of like the hype around this pogrom sort of dissolved in the wake of all these crazy videos of the Maccabee supporters coming out behaving like football hooligans.
Well, hold
Yeah.
on, because the narrative that got spread was that they were getting beat up
Yes.
on.
Yeah, they were hunting Jews in the streets
Yes.
of Amsterdam.
That was what was
Yeah, yeah.
being spread everywhere, especially here. It was on the news everywhere. Again, like I said, like normie everybody was talking about it all over Instagram. This has to stop. We can't stand for this, et cetera, et cetera. And then
It breaks my heart to see this in the 21st century.
Yes.
yes, yeah.
People love saying it
A lot of
breaks my
that.
heart.
It breaks their heart.
And it started before that. It started like during the game because it wasn't just after the game.
Yes,
They were
it
running
was.
around
It
doing
was
stuff. They
during
were
the game.
chanting like, "Death to the Arabs,"
yes,
like
yeah,
the songs
yeah.
about raping people that they love to sing. And this isn't even, if I'm getting my facts straight, not even the most like notoriously racist hooligans in Israel. This is the Tel Aviv team. It's the Beitar.
Yeah.
Jerusalem
the
Beitar is like
team is like their Nazi team.
So these guys are like second tier Nazis by Israeli standards, but they went to Europe and they caused all manner of problem, and they got chased around and beaten up because of it. Kind of like in self defense. They got like thrown in the canal. There was that one video.
Yeah.
And we filed like a case against these guys for hooliganism, the various crimes that they committed throughout the night. And I think the Dutch authorities were looking into it, and a lot of the footage from the day, like CCTV footage of them doing these things, was wiped.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Very
And so the case was dropped.
Well,
There's
everyone
no,
knows how I feel about the Dutch. We don't need to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Liz is.
We can't get into that.
We
Talk about
can't.
hooligan feelings.
We cannot get into that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Liz is like, as long as they were hitting Dutchmen, I'm fine.
critical support.
I had an idea. I think what you guys are doing is such critical work, and don't listen to what I'm saying because you shouldn't do this because you're a legit organization. But what we should do, Brace, I'm looking at you. We think about the friendliest country to the most amenable country to taking on a bunch of these cases. We throw the biggest fucking rave you could think of. Promote the shit out of it. I'm talking crazy rave. It's not Tomorrow World. It's fucking Futureland.
Yeah,
Futurelandia. I don't know what we're thinking.
yeah.
Craziest. Amici. Is that
Avicii. It's a
Avicii?
fucking.
Wait, isn't he
know.
also been dead for like 5
Yeah,
years?
but we'll bring it back. We'll bring it back.
Right, yeah.
Avicii's
No,
a
we'll
state
do
of mind.
Hologram. Yeah.
It's a hologram.
We'll get them all the different Aviciis. I'm sure there's like 15.
1,000 Aviciis.
We'll have them all, and we'll get all of the. That's the only thing they want.
That's true. You guys should do that. You should do a massive rave honeypot.
huge honeypot, yeah.
That's not a bad. In Brazil,
Anywhere.
It would work.
it literally would work.
It would
Yeah,
100% work.
It would.
It
work.
would not be difficult to do
Yeah.
at all.
I think about this. So I feel like every time I see you, we talk about international humanitarian law.
Yeah.
And you know a lot more about it than I do. One can't help but think that like it's invoked a lot in terms of the Gaza war, right? Like, I mean, even a lot of the Rome Statute or the Statute on Genocide, all that kind of stuff, or Convention on Genocide. So much of it feels like this, like the post-war order, which is already obviously severely eroded over the past 80 odd years. It's having a real test right now, and because the test isn't on like, let's say, some African warlord, right, or some jihadist in Mali. The test is on like people who are maybe dual citizens of America, but people who are like really integrated in a sense, even though Israel actually hates all international institutions, but like who are technically very integrated to the international order. And one can't help but very protected. Yeah, one can't help but feel that like international humanitarian law is for the bodies that are supposed to enforce this in some sense are just not up to snuff, right? Like I mentioned this to you yesterday, but it feels like a League of Nations moment, right? Where everyone's kind of like, we don't believe in this crap, do we? Like we were just kind of saying all that shit. Like, these are our boys.
Right.
And it's from even especially we'll talk of genocide, right? Like genocide is this legal concept, a relatively recent legal concept. And it seems like there just isn't an institution that can actually enforce these laws. I mean, we're talking about sort of the weakness of the ICC here. Even if the ICC wanted to, and there's a lot to be said about that. But even if the ICC wanted to, like it's with Netanyahu visiting, remember he went to Poland, obviously came here, has been here many times. I think it was France maybe he went to also. And I can't remember. I know Macron said something about it. And everyone's kind of like, well, all right, there might be a warrant out, but like, we're not going to arrest him, you know? And so that it's almost just like, it's sort of a put up or shut up moment and everyone just shut up.
Yeah. Or did the opposite, like, we love this, and are like speaking in very praiseworthy terms. But no, I mean that's absolutely right. And all of the international institutions are failing, and they're failing for the main reason they're failing is because they were designed and are dominated by the United States.
Yes. Which also does not believe in them.
Which also does not believe in them.
We're not a signatory to the ICC.
Right. No, we signed and then unsigned.
Okay, yeah,
fair enough. Not, we never ratified it.
Yeah.
But we're currently not a signatory.
Famously, we have a law that if an American soldier gets sent to The Hague, we will invade.
Yes. And Israel, obviously, as you said, like, doesn't have any respect for these international institutions. Like, their former ambassador to the UN, like, literally shred the charter on the UN floor.
That's so.
And they just like talk about.
They're so pissed off about that Zionism is racism.
Yeah, they never got
They
over it. Yeah.
literally, that's like it. They never,
Right.
obviously there's other stuff, but they never got, and that and the existence of UNRWA.
Yeah. And also there's talk now of bringing back like the Committee Against Apartheid, which is like a legal body within the UN, which would be great. And yeah, they just have absolutely no respect for international law, for international institutions. The United States doesn't, but pays lip service to them. Not so much anymore. Because
Yeah,
kind of a
now we're
mascot
pretty
moment.
openly against them.
Yeah. But like it was this kind of, we set up this international legal order to help us kind of regulate world affairs and set up this wonderful hegemony that we enjoyed for so long. And the genocide in Gaza was, okay, are you going to rock with the hegemony based on this kind of weak regulatory system you've made, but that really functions through your power? Or are you going to rock with your guys? And we chose our guys.
Yeah.
And we were always going to choose our guys
Always gonna
because
choose
we
our
never
guys.
respected international law either. We never followed it. We've been guilty of, complicity in various genocides or just doing genocide, depending on how you feel about Vietnam. Certainly guilty of like insane war crimes throughout or since the signing of Geneva. And yeah, so it's absolutely right that the international system is failing and that this has been a test for international humanitarian law and the concept of international law just as such. And that is part of the reason that we have been trying to use national courts. Because international law, it has these international adjudicatory bodies like the ICJ and the ICC.
Yep.
But everything that those bodies do needs to be effectuated by states.
Yeah.
It always has and always will depend upon, maybe not always will, but it always has depended upon states for its implementation. And so where like bodies like the UN, which can't do all that much without the Security Council, or the ICC, which again is subject to all these pressures, or the ICJ, which issues opinions, but then they're binding and then states need to do them or not. And the Israelis certainly have not been following the binding orders that the ICJ has been issuing vis-a-vis the genocide. You need states to kind of buck up and start enforcing international law themselves. And what this would mean is that they are not only just enforcing international law as it is, but they are trying to like create an international rule of law for the first time ever.
Yeah.
That it actually would apply to something like the United States or to Israel. And the more states that come on board with this, the more they start forming a de facto political bloc against U.S. dominance. And certainly against the powers like Israel and the United States that would love to see international law just be dead letter. Recently I was in Bogota for the emergency conference of the Hague Group, which is a group of states. It's Colombia, Indonesia, South Africa, Cuba, and a few others that kind of came together a few months ago to pronounce these measures that they would stop the shipment of arms and the transshipment of arms and also comply with the ICJ orders and a few other things. And we were there because, like, one, not all of them really did that, and they have to do it. And also, we were trying to issue a new statement that was much more robust, and we did get one, where they, for our purposes, it was very important that they agreed to do universal jurisdiction and also to start doing holding people to account. But like that to me is like kind of, and we'll see if they follow through on these things.
Yeah.
Colombia has since then started being even more outspoken and taking even more steps.
Yeah.
Brazil has signed on to the South Africa ICJ case. Things are happening, but it's always too late and it's always too little, but things are moving. This is the creation of kind of like a counter-hegemonic political bloc. And that's exactly what the moment demands, because what the world order looks like is the genocide in Gaza. That's been the order since 48. Like what happened right after Geneva was signed, you had, or like before Geneva was signed and then during, French were doing Algeria, right? You had the U.S. destroying all of Korea.
Yeah.
You had Vietnam. You had Israel coming into existence in 1947 and doing massive war crimes and genocide since it's been around, right? Like the order has never really held these people in check. It's held smaller states in check.
Yes.
And smaller states in the global south have good reason to believe in international law as an institution and good reason to want to see it vindicated, because law is the thing that can protect them from blind power, which has been the order of the day since forever. And that's also why I think you see a lot of global South states specifically kind of coming online in this way, like South Africa bringing the ICJ case, Colombia hosting the Hague Group Conference and starting to articulate these really robust positions about the importance of international law and like the inviolability of sovereignty and things like that, because they see where this is all going.
Yeah.
And it's going towards a world that looks like Gaza everywhere, and not just in Gaza. And so, I'm not saying that they're only doing this for self-protective reasons. I really believe that these world leaders, some of them are see the atrocities are happening and just care because no one should be subjected to this. But there is, a kind of prudential reason that you would want to get all of these soldiers and get them quickly and get them for the crime of genocide and get them for war crimes, because you want those things to exist, because those are the things that protect you from abuse by the United States, basically, or any other world power that might come into existence and replace the United States.
Well, Jake, that was illuminating.
Thank you very much.
What should listeners who are fired up? Because here's the deal with this. I think a lot of people, first of all, a lot of people just like look at pictures of dead babies all day and go insane, which I'm going to be honest, I don't think is like necessarily a healthy response. And I think there is don't read into this, ladies and gentlemen, but I think that there is almost a desire to like inflict that upon oneself because of a lack of ability to do anything about the situation politically or militarily. And so it serves as a sort of like, cathartic way. I mean, that's maybe a weird way to put it.
And also like everything on social media is designed to be addictive, that stuff included.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep it in mind.
I think, but to me, it seems like this is almost like doing a version of that has like a productive end, rather than like,
doom scrolling,
sort of doom scrolling,
Right.
But like with maybe a veneer of like I'm radicalizing myself. No, just believe in your politics, get your politics there, and then be clear headed about where you're going with that. And so I'm very impressed by the Hindra Jobs Foundation's mission here, which is like, listen, I fucking hate seeing these guys like grinning, blowing up fucking people's houses, or just driving around
in
wildly.
ladies' underpants.
I mean, yeah, like, dude. It's
Do you know how
just,
fucking insane that is?
I mean, I'm sorry, like, and not to be this kind of guy, but like, when I was in the war, like, I was with guys who like didn't know how to read and they didn't do this shit. You know what I mean? Like, it was like nobody did anything like this that I was with. Like, no one, you're not just fucking driving around like doing drive-bys at houses that just might have people on. Like, are you insane? Like, it's not even a good idea to do that militarily, which just shows you like what we're dealing with here.
How
right?
out of control these guys are.
Yeah, it's just completely out of control. And I think that there's, especially with this shit with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, now we got our guys in there helping them do it too. I mean, I think we've always had our guys in there to an extent, but I think now we got more of our guys in there. I mean, it's so frustrating to see, and the cockiness, knowing that nothing, or thinking that nothing will ever happen to them. And so the brazenness that accompanies that is just so insulting as somebody who, at least believes in the universal brotherhood of man is just completely flies in the face of that. And so I'm glad that somebody is doing, even if this just serves to make it, at the very least, to make it miserable for some fucking, lieutenant colonel who just turned 17, who's going to his first beach rave or whatever, to give him second thoughts about traveling. But I really do. I'm watching this with great interest. I hope that these motherfuckers go to jail.
Yeah.
And the low-level soldiers too, because that's what pisses me off. People always, that's a classic thing, right? It's just like, and you know what you're
Just following orders.
Just following orders. You know that's going to be the defense there. I do think that like so many people evade accountability with that kind of shit, you know?
But for people listening who are interested in the work you guys do, give us a spiel. What can people do? Can they find out more information? All of those things. What kind of people are you? You said you guys work with a lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
Let us know.
So everyone is a volunteer. Every single person is a volunteer who works with us, except the lawyers that we pay to do the cases.
Yeah.
Which is where basically all of the money goes to that, to building out kind of like tech infrastructure that we use to do the research. But everyone is a volunteer aside from the lawyers we contract with. So the things that people can do to help, I would say there's three main things. One, if you are a lawyer and you're interested in helping, please go to the website and volunteer. Fill out the volunteer form. Tell us who you are. Tell us what kind of experience you have. Tell us what you'd be interested in doing. And this is especially important if you are, you have some kind of background in war crimes or some kind of background in like immunities, like national security law. And particularly also if you're not in the United States.
Yeah.
If you're from anywhere else around the world, you will likely be more needed. So that's one thing. If you are a lawyer, please volunteer. The other thing we always could use more of is money. So you can find a donation link on our website.
And we'll put that in the
Great. Thank
description.
you. And then the third thing is that, a lot of this work depends on the political will to prosecute. And, the law is extremely clear everywhere. It's extremely clear. These guys did the crimes. They need to be prosecuted. All of these countries have international obligations and domestic obligations to do so. The thing that's always lacking is political will. And so, to everyone who is out in the streets protesting, that immensely helps our work, because the more, your elected officials and judges and prosecutors feel the pressure that this is something that they must do or they will be replaced or there will be, other types of consequences, that smooths the way for this kind of prosecution. So, everyone who's been protesting and really putting themselves on the line, we love you and we thank you, because that really helps our work as well.
Well, thank you very much, Jake.
Thank you guys for having me.
Well, we have a ton of links in the description where you can find out more information about everything that Jake's talking about, and I encourage you to click them. I am Braze. I'm Liz.
I'm producer Young Chomsky.
And this has been TrueAnon. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Jeffrey Epstein.